Gunners, everybody.
Absolutely. Welcome back, Maggie. It's so good to see you today. How are you today?
Great to see you, Mark. I'm doing good. How has your day been so far?
So far, so good. We were talking a little bit ago about spouses buying guns behind their other half's back.
Yes.
And there was something that came up that we were talking about during that time, and it brought up a question, which we're going to talk about now, which was, if I'm coming into the store to buy my wife a gun for, like, let's say, okay, I need to buy my wife a revolver so she can carry it. So I'm going to buy this gun for her as a gift. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that I can give my wife a gift of a gun legally. Mm-hmm. I can't profit off of it or make any money off of it, or there'd be a monetary exchange.
That's right.
But if I'm buying that, knowing that, technically I'm kind of breaking the law because of the form itself. Is that how I understand that right?
So the newest revision of the form, question 21A, it's the first yes or no checkbox. It says, are you the actual buyer or transferee of the firearm or firearms listed on this form? And then in very, very bold letters, it says, warning, you are not the actual buyer or transferee if you are acquiring any of the firearms on behalf of another person. So if you are not the actual buyer of the firearm, then the licensee cannot transfer the firearm to you. So that's a straw purchase right there, is what they're saying, that if the money you are handing me for this firearm, and this firearm isn't going to be yours, if you're just the one that is doing the paperwork for someone else, and then that firearm is just going to go directly to them, that is to this a straw purchase. It doesn't say. I would love to see where it says something about a gift in here.
Well, if I understand this right, it's really more about the intent at the time of purchase. So if I go buy a gun, it really needs to be my gun when I'm purchasing it.
It does. You do.
But after the fact, if I then later say, I have this gun that I've already purchased for myself, I'd like to give it to my wife as a gift. That's okay.
Yeah, it is okay. Because I have been, my husband has gifted me firearms before. I have gifted my husband firearms before.
When I've gifted my children firearms before.
Yes. And families do this all the time. It's like, oh, this was Uncle Bob's shotgun, and Uncle Bob used to take you out hunting every fall, and we want you to have this. So here you are gifted your relative's shotgun that's been in the family for however long, or even if it's just the one Uncle Bob bought last year because he thought he'd like it better, but you shot it better than he did and he gifted you the gun. A gift really has to have no monetary exchange. There can be no money taken for a gift in any way, shape, or form.
And it really kind of needs to be after the fact, the form, because Brian, your boss here at Gunners, he and cousin, he mentioned one time when I was filling those out, he said those are just so if they want, if they can get you in trouble later. And it's really kind of the idea that, if you're buying that gun for somebody, like, I'm going to buy this gun for my wife. She is going to love it. She's going to carry it. It's going to be her self-defense weapon. It's going to be a gift. By filling that out with that intent, technically is a straw purchase. It's just really, but later on, I can give it to her, and that's no problem at all. Right, because it's about getting you in trouble. Really, it's about just being what's happening at that moment in time as you're filling out that form.
So, page 4, current form, says that you are the actual buyer if you are purchasing the firearm for yourself, or otherwise acquiring the firearm for yourself. So, in other words, like if a relative mails a firearm to your state and you have to go to your local gun shop to pick it up because Aunt Judy in Texas decided, yep, we're shipping guns to all the rest of the family, and these are the ones we want you to have. We won't be traveling there. We'll have to ship them. firearms shipped across state lines usually go by mail, and they go from gun store to gun store so that there is some sort of paper trail. So if Aunt Judy was shipping a firearm from Texas to you, it would make a stop at your local gun store. You would then fill out the paperwork and pay any transfer fee unless Aunt Judy sent money to cover the transfer fee or something like that. Sometimes that happens. And then you fill out the paperwork and you are acquiring that firearm on your behalf that has been transferred through your family. What was your question?
Well, I was just going to say that that's actually really the best, because I would say if you're in doubt, like if you're getting ready to give somebody a gun and you're thinking to yourself, well, I hope I don't get, like if you're in doubt, just take it up to the gun store and have them do a transfer.
Do a transfer.
What's that, $30?
A person-to-person transfer. We had this, we had a customer come in days or weeks ago, and he was like, I bought this gun. I got this gun over a year ago. I've been carrying it, but I'm slowly finding out that maybe this isn't the right gun that for me. I'm having some issues working some of the features on it. It's not exactly in person what I thought it would want to be, but I have a friend I want to sell it to. So how do you sell a firearm to a friend legally when you were the one that purchased that firearm? And what happens if your friend's been in trouble with the law at some point too? How do you legally transfer a firearm from one person to another? The paper trail at a gun store, these forms that are kept on the premise and do not leave until the license retires or goes out of business. This is our way of saying that serial number came from this person and it went to this person, and it all tracks back to our books that show who brought the firearm to us and who adopted that serial number by completing and passing their background check. So anytime you want to transfer possession of a serial number, you can always do it through an FFL for the cost of whatever their transfer fee is. Some places will do face-to-face transfers. A lot of places are starting to not accept those anymore. Some of the bigger box stores in our areas are no longer doing face-to-face transfers, and it's all small local gun shops that are doing those. So it can still be done. You just might have to call around to a few different gun shops. Not entirely sure what your area looks like, but around the Kansas City area, that's kind of what it is like here. And yeah, this is...
Well, you know, I know that because the White House just put in, about this time last year, they did like this whole gun reform thing. But part of it was, because I used to be able to go to a gun show, and a guy who is not a gun dealer can bring his own personal collection there, and he could sell it to you without a background check, because he's selling you his personal collection. That they've cracked down on, and really what it comes down to there is it's about how much money are you making. Like if you're actually showing a profit from selling guns, you need to be an FFL. Is ultimately what they're coming down to. So I think, you know, as well as, you know, you can sell your personal guns to people, but I would always recommend that you do some sort of transfer, because if I go to a gun show and I just sell a gun to a guy, and he goes and commits a crime with that gun, and that gun is found, well, who are they coming to?
They're
coming
come
to me.
To you. Yeah.
So you might as well put it in his name that way if he commits a crime, because you're essentially releasing all the responsibility into the hands of strangers that is all going to come back on you.
Yeah, it really will. Or you are releasing all of that responsibility into the hands of your family member as well. Your spouse, your children, your nephews, nieces, uncles, aunts, grandma, whomever. Not only anything that happens to that firearm while it's in their possession, it's going to come back and haunt them, but it'll come back and it'll haunt you too.
Absolutely.
So you do have to be super careful on that. So we're going to... Nobody ever I don't know if any of you guys read the fine print. I do like to read this, so we're just gonna, question 21A, the actual transferee or buyer. So a person is also the actual transferee or buyer if they are legitimately purchasing the firearm as a bona fide gift for the third party. A gift is not bona fide if another person offered or gave the person completing the form money, service, or items of value to acquire the firearm for them, or if the other person is prohibited by law from receiving or possessing a firearm. So in other words, I can't pass a background check, you do it for me, and while we're standing here, here's my money, take my money, and fill this out, and I want that gun right there.
So
I see that a lot. That's BS. Don't do that.
Yeah,
Please don't do that.
So according to this, then the little fine print. Read the fine print.
Read the fine print.
It's okay as long as they're not giving me money.
Yeah.
And as long as they can. They also. I know that I don't have any knowledge of them not being able to pass a background check. So, like for example, if I'm buying a gun and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to buy this for my daughter. That's okay as long as she doesn't give me money, or there's not something I believe she is gonna fail a background check.
Yeah, like if no felonies, no warrants, I say, and warrants are even unpaid parking tickets or unpaid speeding tickets that you're just like, that was a rental car in a different state for a $5 parking ticket on campus. I'm not doing that. I ain't paying that. Well, guess what? Those unpaid tickets still go to bench warrants, and bench warrants stop you from purchasing firearms. Pay the tickets, people. Get them taken care of and taken off the record. The other thing that'll get people into trouble that I've seen is, well, hang on, let's transfer the money from your account to my account, and we'll put this on my card. That from this side of the counter, not knowing the relationship of the people on this side, and not knowing, that it might be the exact same bank account and routing number, everything like that, and it's coming from the same place, you just have cards with two separate names on them, that still looks like a straw purchase from this side of the counter. Yeah. And so at that point, we just stop everything right there and go, hold on, wait a minute. Can't do that. It's got to be the same person that fills out the background check has to be the same name on the money. If it's plastic money or they have to be the one holding all the money to begin with. Usually, you can't do sketchy things at the counter.
Because again, I'd recommend you, if you do, you always do this little transfer thing. Because like even when Laurel and I came in to buy shotguns, like we're getting his and her shotguns, I could have come in and bought both shotguns and just given it to her. But in the end, it's easier if she just comes in and does it herself, and we don't have to worry about it.
And I did that for a family earlier this week, where the wife is just like, I've had my fun with these firearms. My husband, my daughter would really like to go, and I'm done with it. So the whole family came in, and Mom and Dad spent money transferring guns out of Mom's name into Dad's name, and that was how they wanted to do things, and they were prepared to do it. That works for them. That's cool. All the firearms are now in Dad's name. Mom doesn't have to worry about that. That's fine. I'm not going to yell or complain about that at all, and neither should anybody else, because that's what they wanted to do, and that's what's going to make them happy. You want to try reading this example.
Okay, and give an example. It's
2 pages.
All right, so Mr. Smith asked Mr. Jones to purchase a firearm for Mrs. Smith, who may or may not be prohibited.
We don't know about Mr. Smith.
All right, Mr. Smith gives Mr. Jones the money for the firearm. Mr. Jones is not the actual transfer buyer of the firearm and must answer no to question 21A.
So, Mr. Smith is standing at the counter. Mr. Jones, here's some money. Will you purchase this firearm for me? Mr. Jones isn't buying the gun for himself. Mr. Jones is buying a firearm on behalf of the person that handed him the money. That is a straw purchase. Do not do that.
No, so,
I feel like I feel like, I guess, man, well, I guess this is a thing we do have to go over, and maybe we should go over it a little more frequently.
They're even getting a third person involved here. I'm not sure this. Okay, so the license may not transfer the firearm to Mr. Jones. However, if Mr. Brown
buys the firearm with his own money to give to Mr. Black
as a gift,
with no service or tangible thing of value provided by Mr. Black. Mr. Brown is just like, I have a really awesome friend and I want to do something super cool for him.
I need more friends like that.
Right. All of us do.
All right, so Mr. Brown is the actual transferee buyer of the firearm and should answer yes to question 21A. However, the transfer seller may not transfer a firearm to any person he or she knows or has reasonable cause to believe is prohibited under 18 U.S. Okay, so essentially, like, I could give it to you, like I could buy a gun as a gift.
Yeah.
As long as they don't give me any money, service, any sort of item, nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't believe there's something that would prohibit them from owning this gun.
So yeah, you would have to know that they are super straight-laced and squeaky clean on paper.
It's like a spouse or a child kind of thing.
Yeah. Someone you are directly related to or have direct contact with and know all of their history, family, otherwise, then if that's the case and you're not quite so sure what is on that person's record or what their family life is like and who they're living with and dealing with under the same house, that may have the potential or may be prohibited from owning firearms too, because that's another thing you don't know.
This is fascinating. This is so interesting because I really did. I thought, at first reading it, the impression I got was, well, you can't do that, or at least you got to give it as a gift after the fact. But according to this, if you're intending to buy this as a gift and you're receiving no money, services, items at all for it, and you don't believe that the other person is prohibited from owning a gun, that you can buy it for them.
Yeah. And
interesting. According to the document, ATF
if it is a bona fide gift.
Yeah.
However, when you walk into the gun store with your friends who are underage and we see them handing you money to purchase that firearm, we're going to stop the sale there. That's
there's
where
two
it should
things.
stop.
You got money exchange, so you're
right
already
there.
breaking the rule, and you're prohibited from owning the
That's
gun.
right.
So there's
because
two. Bang, bang, bang.
I was not allowed to hand that person a firearm anyway, because I'm like, prove to me that you're 21 years of age, show me that I can hand this firearm to you, and only one guy gets out his ID and everybody else just sticks around with their hands in their pockets and like, I left it in the truck, or my cat's in the microwave and has my wallet. I don't know what happened. I don't have an ID on me today. That's sketch from this side of the counter. I don't care about your cat in the microwave. That is super sketch.
And when in doubt, it's probably best on your side just to say no.
So and people get really cranky about that.
Sure.
But from our side of the counter, we can get in a lot of trouble for facilitating straw purchases like that. So it is super easy for us to say no, please, no, thank you, and leave it at that. And my cousin gets so much flame for that. I mean, people are just very angry about that, and to me too. I've had we have bad reviews because we have told people, no, that's not legal, that's not how that, and we're gonna get into trouble for that. Maybe we didn't explain it to them in a way that they could understand, but usually that just gets my cousin his ire up so much.
Well, maybe you could give them these examples next time. Like if they're mad, say, well, just let me you read this example.
So your current Form 4473, when you go to the gun store and go to fill one of these out, if you go look at the definitions, page 4, it's the last paragraph on the bottom of page 4 of 7, and the top paragraph of page 5 of 7. So it's a very short little, and we're looking at question 21A. Are you the actual buyer of the firearm? But it is
pretty clear there. That's interesting.
In tiny fine print writing right there. And I guarantee that this has probably been previous iterations too. I'd like to go back through all of these and say, okay, how did they define this in previous forms?
Because that's an older form you got there.
Yeah, this one is this one was revised in December of 2022. The current form was revised August of 23. So it looks like this is almost a word for word.
Oh yeah, it's the same thing. They just kept the same examples.
It is exactly the same. So this has not been changed with the last revision. It looks like this is absolutely, oh no, we do have a few words that have been changed in here. Don't we?
No, I mean it might change, but it's still the same general idea. You
Yeah.
can't give money, services, items of value to acquire the firearm for him or her, or if the other person is prohibited by law from receiving the firearm. So that's good. Well, that's interesting because I thought, well, I think if you were going to do it as a gift, you could, but you got to fill it out first, get it, then give it as a gift after the fact. But apparently you could do it right then and there. That's interesting.
Raffle guns work the same way. So the charities or the companies that are putting on raffle firearms, they are buying it specifically as a bona fide gift. They are gifting it to the company that is holding the raffle, and then if someone wants to buy a raffle ticket to try and win, the proceeds will go to the charitable organization. There's crazy, fun, strange loopholes.
Well, this is interesting. Well, Maggie, gosh, thanks for digging through the fine print with us on this. Fascinating stuff. It's good to know. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's good. That's good information.
So yeah,
you appreciate it. Yeah.
You can, a bona fide gift would have no monetary value, no compensation, and that gift, once you gift it to that other person, you still have to realize that once you've set that serial number free into the wild, into the hands of someone else, it'll still come back to bite.
That's why I always recommend this. You just don't just give out guns.
No.
Yeah, because anything happened that 20 years from now, it's coming back on you.
Yeah, it really is. It doesn't matter how long it takes.
They're gonna ask, "Where's your gun?"
Yeah, they're gonna say, "Hey," and if the owner who was gifted that firearm has done a police report or something like that, and then has proof that they are the one to legally lay right and claim to that firearm. No, my dad gifted that to me, or my husband gifted that to me on this day. Then that needs to be in writing somewhere in your permanent records that you keep, your documentation saying that yes, this serial number by this manufacturer and this model was a gift to me on this date from this person, and they can back that up and verify too, because they should have the same copy of that gift receipt that shows legally able to transfer that to them, that shows some sort of transfer of ownership there. And then
that's good. Well, Maggie, gosh, thank you so much for this information. I think this is great. Hopefully it helped people understand this better, because I was confused on it as well. So
it's very confusing in legalese, and the horrible part is that when you're trying to gift firearms, a lot of places will tell you no. And don't be mad at the place that tells you no. That's just them trying to cover their rear because they had somebody sketch that ruined it for everybody else.
Right.
So
it's usually always the case.
Yeah.
All right, Maggie. Well, thanks for this great information. We always appreciate your wisdom and insight.
Cool beans. Well,
All right.
it's great to be here, and thanks for taking the time, Mark.
Absolutely.
Really appreciated.
It's always fun here at Gunners.
It's something, all right.
All right. We'll just see you next time.
Until then, bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.